What's up, everybody? Hey, Tom Laird here, host of the Advice from a Call Center Geek podcast and founder of Expivia. For exceptional contact center outsourcing, trust Expivia. We're fully AI-driven, as all of you know, and can handle voice, email, chat, and all of your digital channels. Our 600-seat USA contact center is expert in healthcare, financial services, insurance, tech support, retail, and more. Experts on the NICE CX1 platform, we ensure seamless customer experiences. DM me or visit expiviausa.com for more.
This is Advice from a Call Center Geek, a weekly podcast with a focus on all things call center. We'll cover it all from call center operations, hiring, culture, technology, and education. We're here to give you actionable items to improve the quality of yours and your customers' experience. This is an evolving industry with creative minds and ambitious people like this guy. Not only is his passion call center operations, but he's our host. He's the CEO of Expivia Interaction Marketing Group and the Call Center Geek himself, Tom Laird.
Guys, and welcome back to another kind of unique episode. Earlier today was interviewed by the Call Center Helper podcast, and I don't want to give the full podcast episode away because they did an awesome job and they had a ton of really good insights, but I just wanted to kind of give some of the highlights of it. I will highly suggest that that podcast episode will be coming out on the Call Center Helper website, that you listen to it. It's going to be end of March, early April. I'll send a link out as well. But here was just a couple questions that they asked to kind of get a flavor of the of the episode. And I think there's some really unique insights and some really good questions that they had. So a little bit of a different episode, but I hope you enjoy. So the first question that was asked was 5 traits that make up a great contact center. This was my answer. I'll give you 5. There's 5 things that I think we look for when we see a high producing call center, and something in my call center that we really try to stress. And some of them might be self-explanatory, but other of these might be a little bit kind of, I don't want to say off the wall, but a little unique. But so number 1 is really measuring the proper metrics. We are all, in our industry as a whole, is so stuck in service level, average handle time, ASA, talk time. And, when we hit these metrics, so, I have an 80-30 today with a, average handle time under 4 minutes. So I had a great day. Well, the problem with that is the only thing that you're measuring is the efficiency of your call center and the efficiency of your reps, but you're not listening to the customer experience at all. So a high producing contact center, and I think one of the great contact centers now is starting to listen to the customer. That started with CSAT and NPS scoring, but I think we can take that to the next level and really get into the speech analytics and looking at customer sentiment scores. So if you can benchmark a customer sentiment score and you're raising those scores, plus having the efficiency of your call center be where you're hitting those service levels, you're hitting those telephony metrics, I think that's kind of the new definition of a world-class center and something that really you can benchmark from. The other thing that we see is kind of stresses in that education format where your middle management run your call center. If you have really strong supervisors, really strong team leads, you're going to have a strong a strong call center. So making sure that you have a management trainee program, making sure that you have ongoing education, not just for your reps, but for your management, that you're not just pulling a high producing rep off the phones and putting them into a supervisory role, I think is really important. Number 3, and I know I'd like to talk about this a little bit more as we kind of go on here, but number 3 is can you define your culture? And everybody talks about, hey, improving the culture, but nobody really knows what that means. So when you can define your culture and then you have the ability to hire, promote, and incent off of that culture, it totally changes what your contact center can be from just saying, hey, I think this person's really good. They've been in the contact industry for a long time. That's a really important part. And I think we're going to kind of touch on that a little bit later. Number 4 is it's got to be fun, right? I mean, the contact center, you can do things that you can't do anywhere else. So, from having games going on constantly in the call center to having something that the reps are getting up and out of their seat, I think is a really important thing when you're really looking at that occupancy number and kind of dialing it down a little bit for a game or something in the call center is important. And the last one I have that I think is really important too is we do a very poor job as an industry as a whole of educating tone. When we educate, where to click in the CRM. And when a customer says this, you're going to go to this and you tell them this. but we don't do a great job of actually using the tone of their voice. What words are we using? How are we saying it? Because my saying is, with my call center, is the tone is the message. And if your tone is poor, no matter what the experience or the message, and even if the customer gets what they want, if that tone was wrong, the experience was poor. So I think those are our 5 really core key metrics and kind of things that people can kind of strive to have a unique and kind of a cool call center. All right. So the next question was, what were some ways that you can improve the culture in your contact center? We all talk about improving culture, but really nobody knows what that means. When I ask if we go to consult, or if I talk to a client who has an internal call center and I say, hey, I want to match the culture that you guys have if you really like it, and can you define that for me? And everybody struggles with that. So the first thing is, I think you need to define it. Let me give you an example. So in the call center that I run here, our BPO, our culture is a sunshine attitude with an entrepreneurial mindset. Now that's a lot of mumbo jumbo. That's the pretty thing to put on the kind of the mission statement deal. But what that boils down to is attitude and effort. So those are the 2 pillars that we have decided are going to be what we're going to hire, what we're going to incent, and what we're going to promote off of. So we have done things such as, using, agent sentiment scoring to actually incent reps to have a nice tone and actually pay them more for being nice on the phone. Like it's a benchmark now that we can actually use. We can look at, the effort piece of this, and we actually pay our reps incentive, on attendance. And that can actually get pretty significant, if they can string a couple weeks together of 100% attendance. The same thing goes when we go to hire, right? We are not looking at a resume. And I think that this is a big mistake that a lot of call centers make is HR will come to the call center guys and say, hey, I think this person's going to be a great fit. My question was, is a great fit for what? Right. So I think that that's a really, really important piece is understanding what you want. Do you have a sales call center where you're looking for more individuals who are, driven off of a monetary number? Are you looking for more customer service associates that can work in a team, are collaborative, have the proper tone? What type of individual do you want? And then once you kind of can figure that out, and HR can figure that out, then you can actually add pillars, which is a lot of fun, to promote, incent, and hire off of those pieces of culture. So I think that there's a lot of things that you can do then, once you decide this is the type of center that we have. And the other thing that I see with call centers is that the company culture. So if you have an internal call center, your call center culture doesn't have to really totally match the company culture, right? Because you could be like at a very stoic financial services organization where everything is very professional. And not to say that your call center is not going to do that, but the type of tone that you want to kind of project from your brand might be different than what the finance guys are after. So those are a lot of questions that you have to ask from a culture standpoint of the company, and then kind of drill down to the call center and see what type of tone, what type of individual do you want to project for your brand. So this was a cool question on what technology do I see emerging in the contact center and call center industry. Well, huge argument going on in the industry right now with how far is AI going to go and how quick is it going to happen, right? And I think anybody, in our industry would be naive to think that it's not going to play a significant role here in the next coming years. I don't know if that's 5 years, 10 years, 6 months, but I can say that in November, Google just released basically their call center AI platform, so everybody can now, quote unquote, I guess, start playing with it. The first, couple things that I think are going to have an impact, and we are looking at this year is number one is, real-time transcription in the Google Agent Assist. So, to how powerful of a tool this will be to have an associate really be sitting there, right, talking to a customer. And I'm going to get a couple things. Number one, I'm going to get real-time sentiment score. So currently we kind of take sentiment from speech analytics in the aggregate, and we look at it over maybe a day, an hour, 2 hours, 3 weeks. But now we're going to be able to get it in real time. So we're going to be able to kind of have a supervisor, have a mission control, or have a QA area, really be able to see visually if a call is going south, if a customer is irritated. I think that's a really powerful tool from a QA standpoint, and especially from a real-time QA standpoint. And then when you get the real-time transcription as well, and then AI kind of being laid over that. So as words are being spoken from the customer standpoint, as words are being spoken from the agent standpoint, the key points of that call are going to be able to be pulled out. And if a customer calls in and says, hey, I'm really interested in this product, to actually have a PDF or information on sales data or the last specs on that product automatically pop up to an agent so that they're not looking and searching and kind of talking about that. Same thing on the customer service side. Those are things that are here now, right? So these are things that I'm looking at. Our call center is looking at. I know we are a Nice in Contact shop. Nice in Contact will have these pieces in their release this year. I know some of the other telephony providers will as well. That's the in your face, it's here, AI. And then, moving forward, that's where it gets a little sketchy. We have every day I get people, talking to me like, hey, reduce 30% of your call center agents with this AI because everybody, saw that Google at their user conference, about 6 or 8 months ago when, they called the hair salon and kind of had a real human that wasn't a human kind of go through the whole process. That's not here yet. But again, I think we're naive to think it's not coming. But I think from the Google Agent Assist, real-time transcription, those things are here now. And they're going to have a huge benefit in the customer experience for the customers and the clients and the companies that want to start to implement and kind of move down the road with this AI technology. So then this question was, what were some brands or some companies that I think really do a great job with customer experience? Yeah, and maybe I flipped this question around, but let me answer that and then kind of add the devil's advocate to that. So, you have different companies that have almost weaponized the customer experience, right? You have like Zappos, you have here in the States, you have Chick-fil-A, right? That have, when you think of those companies, one of the first things that come to mind is the actual customer experience. And that's kind of an amazing thing. And how they've done that is it's in every piece of their culture. It's in every piece of social media that goes out. It's in how they actually interact with customers. When I drive through a Chick-fil-A and I say, thank you, they say my pleasure. Those, two little words that everybody is ingrained and trained with have made a huge difference and made people think about, how can I brand? Because they actually are kind of branding their customer experience, which is a really, really cool and opens up a whole new, set of really cool and unique things that you can do, from that standpoint. But working in a BPO and owning a BPO, so we're an outsourcer that works with a lot of different clients. We kind of see the flip side of it with the companies that I don't want to say are not doing it well, but it's not a priority. So a lot of the big tech companies. So what happened? And this is kind of a trickle-down effect. So you have, the Facebook and the Google and the LinkedIn and those big giant type of tech companies that, if you want to try to get a hold of their customer support, you're going to go through a process, right? And you're probably not going to get anything real time, and it's going to be an email. So what happens is we're seeing a lot of startups that we're working with have the same exact mentality, right? They think that they can do what Facebook does and Google does because that's who they interact with and who they kind of mold themselves after. And it's such a poor way of doing business. And we're trying to get them to kind of see the kind of the light at the end of the tunnel and what a tool dealing with your customers is, but also how awesome it is for your business model, right? When you're handling these guys in a first call resolution, trying to get them within a certain time period, actually talking to them where you can do cross sells and upsells after you're really handling and kind of building brand and building a unique experience for them. So, there's the companies that are doing it right are kind of killing it. It's not easy, right? And it's a ton of training and it's a company-wide process that needs to happen. But when you do it and it's done right, it's such an advantage for a company or for a brand. So this was a pretty cool question on what were a couple ways that I thought you could make your customer experience unique for your brand or for your company. Yeah, one of the things I kind of want to add, and I can maybe throw into this as well, but when we were talking about culture, that's kind of, we talked about the hiring, and that's kind of the defining the culture is the macro, right? And then moving into kind of the micro with that, which I think goes into your question here of a unique customer experiences. One of the things and one of the biggest tips that I can give to improve someone's call center And also, I think make the customer experience better is we call it controlling the first 30 minutes of the shift, right? Or 30 minutes of the day. So, whether what your culture is, if we like to have music going, we like to have a kind of a high energy kind of call center floor. Now, I understand you have different reps coming in at different times. But at that beginning of the day, I think that's really important to have every single associate greeted as they come in, right? So that the email that you're working on, Mrs. Supervisor, is not as important as that rep that's coming in by you. So whether you're a high fiver, whether you're just a handshake, or whether you're a hey Janie, kind of taking the temperature of your rep, I think is really important. Then recapping the day before, giving goals out for today's day, and then actually every single team that we have here at Expivia, there's a game going on every single team, whether it's team versus team, whether it's individual versus individual, something's going on. But I think if you can control that first 30 minutes, the customer experience improves vitally because that you turned any of those poor attitudes that maybe came in. You've kind of taken the temperature of the room. Everybody understands the goals and they understand how they're going to have fun for the day as well. So I think that's really important. Some of the other things from a unique experience, we kind of touched on this a little bit about really branding or immersing your customer into your culture. So if you are a financial services organization, maybe you want to have, yes, sir, no, sir, you're immersing them into that professional kind of attitude. But if you are a shoe company or you're a retail and you're working with 18 to 25-year-olds, maybe you can use words like, hey, that's cool. Oh, hey, thank you. That's awesome, right? Not everything needs to be cookie cutter, and how you talk to your customers and how you brand your service, I think needs to match the culture and what you're trying to reflect. And that's something that we try to do here a lot too. Every single client is a little bit different. So to match the rep with how to speak to the customer, even demographic, those types of things I think are really important. The other really cool thing that we've had customers actually buy into is using customer experience as a marketing tool. So we actually are taking service level, we're taking calls in queue, we're taking agent and customer sentiment scores, and we're actually posting them on their website through APIs. So in real time, right, when a customer goes to XYZ company's customer service page because they need to talk to them and they need their phone number, they're going to see the amount of calls in queue, the customer and agent sentiment scores, which hopefully are good, right? Those types of things. So if we're doing our job here in the call center, those stats from both a telephony efficiency standpoint and also from a customer sentiment standpoint should be really high. We can actually prove to customers that they're getting a really, really high-end customer service experience. And then we talked about some of these other things too of incenting the proper KPIs, not just kind of tracking them, but actually paying your reps off of new type of technologies, the new sentiment scoring. I'm really looking at what makes a really cool customer experience. And it's not just service level, it's not just handle time, but looking at some of those metrics. And then kind of lastly, every single call center out here, and I think that this is really important, is we have so much technology, right? And not all of us use the technology that we have. And I think one of the really important things is to talk to your supervisors, to really dig into whatever platform you have. There's tools that you're not using that can improve and kind of make that customer experience unique that you don't even know you have because you're just kind of stuck in, this is kind of what we do. So every time that we go consult, we go talk, that's one of the huge questions. And it kind of blows people's mind. Like, oh my gosh, I don't even need to pay for this. We're just not using it. And I think that that's a really important tip to really dig in. And the platforms that are out there today are so powerful that there's a lot of things that you're probably not using that you probably should be.